Look at the device in your hand right now. Look at the solar panels on the roof of your neighbor's house. Look at the electric vehicles silently gliding down the street. You're told that this is the future, a green utopia powered by advanced technology and renewable energy. But there is a dirty secret hidden beneath this technological revolution, a secret that the banking cartel and the industrial complex are desperate to keep hidden from you. This entire modern world relies on a single, finite element that is rapidly disappearing from the face of the earth. It is not gold. It is not oil. It is silver. For decades, you have been conditioned to think of silver as second place, a cheap jewelry metal, the poor man's gold. This is a carefully constructed psychological operation. In reality, silver is the most strategic element on the periodic table. Without it, the modern world goes dark. Without it, the missiles do not fly, the satellites do not transmit, and the AI servers do not compute. But while the demand for this metal is exploding to levels never seen in human history, the price is being artificially crushed by a paper market that is nothing more than a criminal enterprise. We are standing on the edge of a precipice. The vaults are running empty, the mines are drying up, and the greatest short squeeze in financial history is about to begin. To understand the magnitude of the lie, you must first understand the distinction between currency and money. The paper dollar in your wallet is currency. It is a claim check on nothing, printed by a bankrupt government. Gold and silver are money. They are a store of value that has survived every empire for 5,000 years. But there is a critical difference between gold and silver that makes the current situation so terrifying. Gold is hoarded. Almost every ounce of gold ever mined still exists today, locked in a vault or worn as jewelry. Silver is different. Silver is consumed. It is a vampire metal. It is used in electronics, in medicine, in chemical reactors, and in solar panels. And once it is used, it is often lost forever in landfills, too tiny to be recycled. We have been burning through our above-ground stockpiles of silver for 70 years. The world's strategic stockpiles, which used to hold billions of ounces, are gone. We are living hand-to-mouth, consuming silver faster than we can pull it out of the ground. And yet, if you look at the price, it sits stagnant, suppressed, and ignored. This disconnect between reality and price is the smoking gun of manipulation. The entity responsible for this manipulation is the bullion banking cartel, operating primarily through the COMEX in New York and the LBMA in London. They have created a casino called the paper silver market. In this casino, they trade contracts that claim to represent silver, but there is no metal backing them. For every single ounce of physical silver that actually exists in the vaults, there are hundreds of paper ounces being traded. Imagine a parking lot with one parking space, and the owner sells tickets for that single space to 500 different people. As long as everyone doesn't try to park at the same time, the scam continues. The banks use these paper contracts to flood the market with fake supply whenever the price tries to rise. If silver starts to rally, threatening the stability of the dollar, they print 1 billion ounces of paper silver and dump it on the market in seconds, crashing the price. They have been doing this for decades, harvesting the wealth of real investors and protecting the illusion of the fiat currency. But why suppress silver? Why not gold? Because silver is the people's money. Throughout history, gold was the money of kings and nations, but silver was the money used for daily wages, for bread, for trade among the common man. If the price of silver were to explode to its true value, it would signal the total collapse of faith in the fiat dollar. It would empower the middle class and strip the central banks of their control. Therefore, silver must be kept in a cage. It must be ridiculed. It must be volatile. They need you to hate it. They need you to sell it. They need you to trade your hard assets for their digital illusions. This is why, despite record inflation, record debt, and record industrial demand, silver remains more than 50% below its all-time high from 1980. There is no other asset on Earth that is cheaper today than it was 45 years ago. This is not a market. It is a crime scene. However, the laws of physics eventually override the laws of criminals. The manipulation works only as long as there is some physical metal available to deliver to the few people who actually demand it. That buffer is disappearing. We are entering the age of the Great Deficit. For the last 3 consecutive years, the world has consumed hundreds of millions of ounces more silver than the miners have produced. The mining industry has been starved of capital. It takes 10 years to open a new mine. Even if the price doubled tomorrow, no new supply is coming online anytime soon. Meanwhile, the demand is becoming vertical. The Green New Deal and the push for net zero mandates are essentially a death sentence for the silver supply. Solar panels alone are projected to consume 20% of the entire annual supply, and that number is rising every year. Electric vehicles use twice as much silver as gas cars. The charging stations, the grid upgrades, the 5G towers, they all devour silver. Let's talk about the military-industrial complex. You cannot fight a modern war without silver. It is in the guidance systems of cruise missiles. It is in the cockpit of fighter jets. It is in the torpedoes and the satellites. During World War II, Silver was so strategic that the US government took silver from the Treasury to make wires for the Manhattan Project because copper was in short supply. Today, the US government has zero strategic silver left. They sold it all. If a major war breaks out and the drums of war are beating loudly in Europe and the Middle East, where will they get the metal? They will have to print fiat currency to buy it, but you cannot print silver. When the military comes knocking for metal that doesn't exist, the paper market will simply vaporize. The price discovery will move from the computer screens of New York to the physical dealings in the street. The irony is that the technology sector, which is driving the stock market to all-time highs, is the very thing that is draining the lifeblood of the physical market. AI requires massive amounts of computing power. Computing power requires chips. Chips require silver. We are building a digital Tower of Babel on a foundation of a scarce resource that we are running out of. The tech giants know this. There are whispers that companies like Apple, Tesla, and Samsung are quietly bypassing the public markets and buying directly from the mines. They are securing their supply chains because they know the storm is coming. When the panic starts, it won't be individuals lining up to buy coins. It will be trillion-dollar corporations fighting tooth and nail for the last bars available to keep their factories running. The banking cartel is playing a dangerous game of chicken. They are shorting a market that is physically tightening. J.P. Morgan, the behemoth of the silver world, famously accumulated the largest stockpile of physical silver in history while simultaneously shorting the paper market. They were suppressing the price to buy it cheap for themselves. They paid a $920 million fine for spoofing the markets, a slap on the wrist for a crime that netted them billions. They know the explosion is inevitable. They are positioning themselves to be the lords of the metal when the paper scam collapses. They want you to hold the paper while they hold the bars. They want you to be the victim of the squeeze they are engineering. Look at the geological reality. Silver is mined primarily as a byproduct of lead, zinc, and copper mines. Very few pure silver mines exist anymore because the price is too low to make them profitable. As the world economy slows down and demand for base metals drops, the supply of silver will drop with it. This creates a supply cliff. Imagine a scenario where industrial demand creates a deficit, but a recession cuts off the byproduct supply. It is the perfect storm. The elasticity of supply is zero. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel, processing lower and lower grades of ore, using more energy to get less metal. This is unsustainable. The physics of extraction dictate that the price must rise, or the metal will simply stay in the ground. Now consider the psychological aspect. The average person has zero exposure to silver. Less than 0.5% of the population owns any precious metals. The public is asleep. They are chasing Nvidia. They are chasing crypto. They are chasing real estate bubbles. This is exactly what the smart money wants. The greatest gains in history are made when the public is oblivious. When the crowd finally wakes up to the silver shortage, the door will be too small for everyone to fit through. The physical market is tiny. If just 1% of the money currently in the stock market tried to move into silver, the price would not just double, it would multiply by 10 or 20 times. It is a tiny lifeboat for a sinking Titanic, and most people don't even know they need a life jacket. We are seeing the signs of the crack-up boom globally. In China and India, the premiums on silver are skyrocketing. The East is draining the West of its physical metal. They are trading their trade surplus dollars for hard assets. The Shanghai Gold Exchange is starting to set prices higher than New York. The arbitrage is draining the COMEX vaults. We are witnessing a slow-motion bank run on the global silver supply. The vaults in London and New York, which claim to have stockpiles, are opaque. Much of that silver is leased or belongs to ETFs, meaning it has multiple owners. When the music stops, the game of musical chairs will leave millions of paper investors with nothing but a force majeure email telling them their contract is being settled in cash, not metal. You must understand that holding physical silver is an act of rebellion. It is a vote of no confidence in the central banks. It is the only financial asset that is not someone else's liability. If you own a stock, you rely on the company. If you own a bond, you rely on the government. If you have cash in the bank, you rely on the solvency of the bank. But if you hold a silver coin in your hand, you rely on no one. It is kinetic energy. It is finalized wealth. This is why they hate it. This is why they suppress it. It represents freedom from their debt-based system. By suppressing the price, they are essentially subsidizing the destruction of the very thing that keeps their technological world running. They are selling the family silver to keep the lights on for one more day. The silver squeeze movement that started a few years ago was just a tremor. The earthquake is yet to come. The next squeeze won't be driven by Reddit traders. It will be driven by desperation. It will be driven by industry. It will be driven by nations. When a strategic resource runs dry, nations go to war for it. We are moving into a multipolar world where resources matter more than currency. Russia, China, and the BRICS nations are hoarding commodities while the West prints currency. In this new world order, he who has the gold and the silver makes the rules. The fake paper price set in New York will become irrelevant. The real price will be unobtainium. The window of opportunity is closing. The premiums on physical coins are already detaching from the spot price. This is the market telling you that the paper price is a lie. Soon, you will see a spot price of $30 or $40, but you won't be able to find a single ounce to buy for less than $100. And then there will be none at any price. The dealers will hang up the phone. The websites will say out of stock. That is the moment of realization. That is when the illusion breaks. That is when the wealth transfer occurs. Not when the price goes up, but when the metal disappears. This is not a drill. The data is clear. The geology is clear. The mathematics are undeniable. We are watching the end of a 100-year experiment in paper manipulation. The spring has been coiled so tight that the release will shatter the financial system. They want you to rent. They want you to subscribe. They want you to own nothing. Silver is the antithesis of their agenda. It is tangible. It is real. It is yours. Do not be distracted by the noise. Watch the vaults. Watch the deficits. The most manipulated asset on earth is about to break its chains. The only question remaining is, will you be holding the paper, or will you be holding the metal when the lights go out?